Hey you guys, Erico here. Hope you guys are doing well. Everybody with me say Lunar. Oh, it's nighttime in the moon. I can't even see the moon from where I'm at. What am I talking about? But anyway, I'm on here to talk about my gripes. I have a whole lot of gripes right now. As a JRPG fan, I have a game that I grew up with. I wasn't with this game when it first originally came out in its original form. However, I did grow up with this game when it came to the early 2000s. However, this game is called Lunar, specifically Lunar Silver Star. So this was originated on the Sega system, and it was in the very early 90s. I don't know too much about the original version of this game. It is considered like a collector's item. That console is considered like a classic piece of gaming console that I don't know too much about. I know about Sega. I was around when Sega was building itself and updating itself. However, when it comes to like this actual game, I was too young. So, like people talk about games that like Final Fantasy and the original Final Fantasies that were out, and that tying into the remake games and Rebirth that came out as well. And people are always like, "Oh yeah, the original one." I'm like, you do realize there are people that are playing like Rebirth and remake that were not alive or maybe were too young. So when it comes to Lunar Silver Star, I would have been about 2 years old, and I did not have the know how to be plucking and punching and hitting on a controller. Was not thinking about that. I was thinking about other things, trivial things. So yeah, I don't know anything about the original version of this game. I did look into it, and like it just screams nostalgia. It screams that era of gaming, and this game was a huge deal on that system. It became the second best selling game of all time in Japan, and it was such a success that they brought it over to North America, to different parts of the world, and it continued to have an occult fan base, and that led all the way up to like the early 2000s, and that's when I came into becoming a fan of this game Lunar. I actually was in GameStop and I bought Lunar Legends, which at the time was the revamp on Game Boy Advance. I knew nothing about this game. I saw the cover. I wanted to play another RPG game because I'm the type of person, I love like adventure, storylines, characters, things that engross me in a story and make me kind of get away from, my life that I have at the moment. I love books. I love reading. I love a good story. So I picked up this game not knowing anything about it. I was like, I'm gonna try it out. I went to the register, and the guy at the cash register started going off and gushing about the original Lunar and telling me that they actually had a used copy of the PlayStation which is also a remake. And I was like, oh, okay, because like I said, I didn't know anything about this game. So I went and I played it and instantly fell in love. Fell in love with the story. It's one of my favorite RPGs. Just the story and the characters and how it revolves around a protagonist that wants to be a hero, and the idea of religion and mystic dragons, and these dragons tying into this holy deity, which is Athena, and how that all ties into our protagonist. His name is Alex, and his journey. And not saying too much because there is a huge plot twist that happens in this story that I feel like if I talk too much about the characters, it will give it away. But it's such a great story, and it has a great set of characters that are each one just rememberable. And it really set the standard for a lot of these other RPGs that we see. I see like the influences in Final Fantasy with characters like Aerith, and how she also ties into like that otherworldly, higher plane, godlike powers, and that tying into the female character that is also in Lunar, or even talking about Lunar Eternal Blue, which is the second direct sequel of Lunar, which people said that they actually liked more than the first game. I will say right now, I never played Eternal Blue. Which brings me to my gripe of what we're actually talking about here. So they announced that they were going to do a remaster of both games together. I was like, I'm, I'm going to get to play Eternal Blue after all these years. Over a decade, never playing Eternal Blue. I have an idea of what it's about, never played it. So they slated the release of this game. People were excited. They were like, ooh, finally we get something of like an update on Lunar. And, you know, I knew it was coming out. I wasn't there on release day. And I didn't realize at the time that it was an Amazon exclusive. I thought, oh, it's a remaster. I'll be able to go to GameStop and get it. You know, just waltz in there, just buy a copy for Switch and go on about my day. The release day came. And it was absolute chaos. This remaster's release was put out into the world by Gung Ho Entertainment, who is a Japanese label. They're mostly well known for the Ragnarok games. And they announced that they were going to do this, and that when people had concerns, they were like, there's no pre-orders. You know, Gung Ho Entertainment was like, oh no, we have more than enough copies. You'll be okay. Y'all get, all of y'all gonna get a copy. You gonna get a copy, and you gonna get a copy. Everybody gonna get a copy. It's all right. Don't worry about it. You know, I didn't think too much about it. I looked and I got a notification from Reddit that said it was out. I was like, oh, it's out. I was like, let me walk on over to Amazon and get a copy. La-di-da-di-da-di-da-di-da. I go over to Amazon to get it on Switch. And it sold out. So I will say there are the PlayStation version, Xbox version of the game that's also out. I grew up playing Lunar on handheld. So I kind of want to keep it on handheld. I don't enjoy playing games with like miniature characters on the big screen TV. I never have. I felt that way about Legend of Heroes as well. Those games are games I'd rather play on a handheld. That's just me personally. Other people might feel different. The PlayStation version, Xbox version actually was still in stock. Did not want that. Never planned on buying those versions. And so I was very upset. And I was like, maybe they'll get some back in stock like in a week or so. Reddit, social media, they're all in a frenzy. They're like, it sold out. Some people are like, oh, I was there. I waited until like midnight, refreshed the page, and they had it, and I got myself a copy, and I'm happy it came within like 2 days. I'm so happy for y'all. I really am. But that don't change the fact that I don't have a copy. So I was like, okay. People are blowing up Amazon reviews. It was only like really 1 or 2 negative reviews, but people were blowing up like Reddit, especially like the page that is dedicated to Lunar, and people were like, why do you have pre-orders? How did it sell out so fast? They were going and contacting Gung Ho Entertainment. Finally, their CEO came out and they're like, oh, we got more on the way. Don't worry, it's coming, it's coming. Deep breaths. I'm like, yeah, it's probably coming. Probably in like the next few months or so. It's not coming no time soon. So we have an example here of a company not realizing how much of a demand there actually is for a game. And I think that they felt because this game is over a decade old, that they underestimated the fan base of this game. Currently, it is still a huge bestseller on Amazon because there is actually a demand for this game. There is a demand for the Switch version of this game because they have to remember that from the original that was on the Sega console, they remade this game 3 times in the early 2000s. Not only that, they had an original game, Dragon Song, which a lot of people do not like. Me personally, did not like the gameplay. I didn't hate the story though, I will say that. And I didn't hate the characters. And I felt like it still was a good tie-in to the overall franchise of Lunar. So I accepted it. I'm not the type of person to follow a hate train. I don't care how many people hate something. If I find something of value, then, you know, I'll be like, it wasn't as bad as, like, people were like, oh, no, it's the worst game ever. I'm like, it's really not. And it served its purpose for what it was. It was, once again, a return to Lunar, which was cool. However, now we have many people who want this game, and there are no copies available. And Gung-Ho clearly did not press enough copies of this game. And thought that, oh, we just do, you know, a few, probably thousand or so, 2,000, 3,000 or so copies, and, you know, that'll feed the whole fan base. No. A lot more people know this game than I think they thought. And now there are a lot of people that are very upset. And they're upset because it's like, will we actually get a copy of this game? How long will we have to wait for a copy of this game? There are people going to multiple websites and they're like, oh, this website is still taking orders for it. So recently, as of a day ago, Amazon actually put back up that there were stock for the Switch version of the Lunar remake games. And within a couple hours, it was gone again. And once again, people were like, I did not get a copy. I went, it was sold out again. Some people were like, oh yeah, I got my order, it's coming, and it was hard to get the order. It kept changing the estimated delivery date. That's because they really didn't have any in stock. And they just put it back up and basically holding your money until Gung-Ho actually sends them some more stock. Because I thought about that. I was like, they probably really don't have any in stock. And you probably really going to be waiting till like August for that game. It's like, I just buy it in August. If that's the case. So yeah, it's a back and forth where there is more demand for this game than they actually thought that there was going to be. I feel like that this is a series that was kind of neglected because it is older, and there's a lot of different opinions about this game and about these games, or about this franchise. Is that, you know, some people are like, oh, the combat is kind of slow, it's a hard game, the combat is like real bulky, sluggish. I will say this. The remakes that they've done over the years are easier than, I would say, with the PlayStation version and probably the Sega version. The PlayStation version that I finally got to whirl back around and play was very hard. I'm not going to even lie. It's the type of game where you do have to grind. But even when I played Legend, the last boss, I had to go back, and in that final dungeon, I had to grind. Because even that final boss was hard. I remember like being just at the wit's end and at the skin of my teeth winning that battle. And I remember he had killed everybody except for Alex. And Alex hung in there, and I won that final battle. And I was like, I got it. But yeah, they're the type of games where you do have to grind. They're the type of games where you do have to make sure you're on a specific level when you go up against a certain boss. Otherwise, you will get obliterated. And I found that out. I got to like the first major boss. I think it was like a plant boss. and it obliterated me and kept obliterating me. And I'm like, why this game so hard? I'm like, this is like a hard ass game. But I'm excited to revisit and like really get down into grinding and just cultivating my party once I get a copy of this game, because I do feel like I am gonna get a copy. I don't know how. Hopefully, like I said, stock will come back and it'll stay in stock, because it is crazy right now with the people that are reselling the ones that they've gotten at like $119, $120 on eBay. There are people doing bids where the bids are going up to like $200 and $190. Not me. I will not. That's not going to happen. I thought about paying like 100 something. I did. I was like, now if they take too long, if the people at Gun Ho take too long putting out stock, or the stock keeps coming out and it's only a little bit and it keeps selling out, then I think a lot of us will have no choice but to pay that $100, because it might get to the point where this is a rare game. I hope it does not, and I do hope that they go and they press up enough copies where it stays in stock like a lot of other games. We don't want this to keep happening, because it is depressing. It is hard on the psyche for a lot of us. And we're like, we just want to buy the game and just be done with it and just have the game. We don't want to keep having to go and check Amazon and be like, did they put more up? And the next day, is there more? Did they put it up? You know, it's like you're on eggshells and you're like, I gotta get it before other people get it, before it sells out. He's like, it's a lot. It's a lot. And none of us want that. These are games that really build up on storyline and characters. And I wouldn't say so much the gameplay is everything, but just the experience of the world and being with these cast of characters and spending time with these cast of characters. I even feel that from Eternal Blue, and I haven't played Eternal Blue yet. I know really nothing except for a little bit of the storyline, and from the screenshots I've seen and from some of the gameplay, I was like, I know that they brought that same feeling. The overall appearance of the game looks dated. You know, some of the animated sequences look dated, but however, it just kind of brings you back to that warm feeling of like that Lunar brings to the player. And you know, it might be a game that's not for everybody. It is a game that I grew up with, like I said, in the early 2000s. And I definitely would want to remaster, mostly to play Eternal Blue. I also would like them to like take this game and just remake it. I mean, all the love that Legend of Heroes is getting, I feel like that they could do that with Lunar too. And even make finally an official third game. And really just revamp it and introduce it to a new generation of people. Because even these remasters and what's going on now with them not having any in stock and it being in demand is causing people to have interest. They're like, what is this game? And then the people that are like diehard fans are telling these people, they're like, you know, this is Lunar. Like, you gotta get into it. Like, it's a great classic RPG. This RPG walks so a lot of the RPGs that we see now could run. So, yeah, hopefully, if you haven't gotten a copy, that you do get a copy eventually. I hope to get a copy eventually. I'm holding out hope. You guys, there's a lot to think about. Follow my social media, mostly my Instagram. Also, blog Nation Pop Culture. The link is always down in the description box below. And remember, be real, stay real, live in the real, and I will always be back. Thank you guys for watching. Put below how you feel about Lunar. Have you played Lunar? Have you not? What do you know about these games? I'll see you in the next video.